Use this technique to keep going with this and make as much detail as you like if you have the patience. This is kind of a two-dimensional tree, so let's still got that one over there selected. So let's hit B on your keyboard, gives you crosshairs. Click and drag to create a selection box, and now let's just move that over a little bit. So now we got a little bit of variation here, and let's do the same thing with this guy, this whole other part of the branch here, and let's just kind of rotate it around. There we go. That looks a little better, huh? Okay, so now we need to tell Blender where the leaves and the little twigs are going to go. So let's go into top view, and let's put our cursor right there, front view, and put it up here. We're going to hit space, add a mesh, and we're going to put a UV sphere in there. It doesn't need that many segments. I usually just go about 8. 8 segments, 8 rings. Hit OK. Now hit tab, scale it up so it completely covers. You can go into wireframe view, hitting Z, completely covers that fork in the branch there. And now we're going to Shift D, duplicate it. While you're still in edit mode, you want this to be all one model here. And just move that until it encloses the other branches. Okay, just tab out, back into solid view. Now if you just select one of them, it selects both of them because they're all part of the same model. And let's rename this to twigs. Okay. And now we need to tell it what kind of leaves it's going to have. So let's go in here and let's just hit space, add a mesh. We're going to add a plane, and we're going to do kind of the same thing we did on the ground, but not that much detail. Let's just go to edit mode, tab in, W subdivide multi, but we don't want 20 this time. We just want, let's say, we just want 3. Okay. Now you can kind of just sculpt it. One trick you can do, similar to using the mirror modifier, if you're familiar with that, just turn on X-axis mirror. If you grab this guy, it's going to move the other one too. So it's kind of like mirroring, but you don't have to put the modifier on there. So let's model this into the shape of a leaf. Maybe a quasi maple leaf. Any Canadians watching? Okay, how's that looking? Is that alright? Too many? I don't remember exactly what a maple leaf looks like, so don't judge me too harshly. Okay, that'll work. And let's give it a bit of 3 dimensions. Let's go into the front view, and you can see it's very, very flat. Let's grab the edges, bring them down. Let's grab the center and bring it down. So now it looks a little bit more like a leaf. Okay, one thing that Blender does when you put the leaf onto this tree modifier that we're going to use, it centers the new leaves on its center. It doesn't grow them from the stem like it needs to. So what we need to do is grab everything, and we need to line it up with that little pink dot right there. So let's go into side view and just move it until the part where the stem would be is lined up with that pink dot. There we go. Alright, so now if you rotate it around, you see it rotates. That's where its center is on that pink dot. Okay, that leaf looks a little sharp, so let's add a subsurf to it. And it kind of took away our maple leaf look, but that's fine. I'm going to set smooth. And let's go ahead and give it a color. You can UV, put seams on this and UV map it too, but I will just give it a procedural color, just a straight color. Kind of a dark green and not too shiny. Just go to the shaders, turn down the spec. Okay, that'll work. And let's go ahead and rename it. Go to the editing, and instead of plane, let's name it leaf. Okay, we are just about ready to rock and roll with this tree. So let's on this panel here, let's go to the scripts window right there and select your tree that you made from your curves, and you go scripts, wizards, tree from curves. It's awesome little algorithm. I don't remember who came up with it, but they used it when they created a lot of the trees for the Big Buck Bunny movie. So I'm going to show you how to use it. There's been other tutorials on how to use it, but anyways, this is how you use it. Make sure you got your curve selected there. Fill twigs. Object bound needs to be twigs, which is that model of those spheres that we made. Let's pop into into wireframe view so we can see what's going on. And let's go ahead and automatically update as we work. And you can see here, it created a lot of little twigs and stuff. Let's pop out and grab that, and let's move it to a different layer so we can kind of watch what's going. Isn't that kind of cool? Look at that, just automatically made those. And what else is cool is we can keep going with it. Grow twigs. Oh, gotta make sure we got the curve selected still yet. Grow twigs from short. Twig scale. You don't want to go above 1 because it'll really screw things up on your tree. Random orientation. Just play with these settings and get it to look as dynamic or organic as you want. So now we want to give it some leaves. So you want to click on Generate Leaves. And it's going to be object bound also. So just hit leaf that we just made that. And you can see it takes that shape that we made and turns it into leaves all the way around all those little twigs that we made. It looks kind of weird. So let's grab that model and kind of rotate it around until the leaves look halfway decent. And we can scale the source leaf, or we can just do some settings in here. Size, don't want to make it too small. Probably 0.2. Gotta make sure your curve's selected. There we go. Way too small. Way too big. Just right. Okay. Now we want to put a lot more leaves on there, so change the density to say 0.5. That's a lot of leaves. Nice and circular too, like from those spheres that we made. You can use other shapes than spheres to give it more of a dynamic shape, but this would be a nice little trimmed up head, you know, that somebody did artwork on to trim it up. Okay, so we got that looking pretty well the way we want. We're going to need to add some bark to the tree to make it look realistic. So what you want to do is generate UVs, and all the default settings are fine. And I guess adding that kind of put it down below my window here, so I need to split this area. Oops, grab this one, split this area. I guess that'll be fine right there. Split area, split. Having problems splitting this area. That's weird. I haven't had that problem before. Oh well. Let's can't go in here and move this down. Well. Okay, well, let's just do this. Scale everything down. We'll scale it back up here in a few minutes. Still, let's see if we can zoom out. No? Oh well. Apologize for this. Here's one thing we can do. Control up on your keypad maximizes it. And still cutting it off a little bit, but we see the button that we need, and that's generate from selection. So we just click on that. And it should be done. Hit Control down, and your tree should be all set. So let's go ahead and grab that curve that we made. Let's go ahead and scale everything back up. Yeah, there we go. Grab that curve that we made, and let's go ahead and move it to a different layer so we don't have to look at it. There we go. And now let's go back to the UV image editor, and let's see what our UV map looks like here. Vertex Paint, pop in edit mode. You can see it's very, very straight. So that means we can add a nice procedural texture to it, and it'll give it a nice look. So the way we do that, back to object mode, let's go into the shading buttons here, and we're going to add a new one. Let's call this tree bark. Okay. Go into the texture buttons, add a new. This one's also going to be clouds. Go to colors, color band, bring the alpha up, and change the blue to a brownish color, brownish gray right there. And then let's make this one kind of a dark brown. We don't want black. There we go. Increase the contrast some, and let's give the noise depth a little bit more, and the noise size, let's make it about 0.694. That doesn't matter, it's just a random number I got. 0.7 would be fine. Okay, now let's pop back to material buttons. Actually, let's join these back together. It's distracting me there. Okay, turn down the spec way down. We don't need that. Map input is going to be UV, so we can follow those vertical coordinates that it mapped for our tree. And let's change the size of the X. Make that way high. Sorry, I just got an email. Thought I closed that. Anyways, way high. So now you can see it's vertical striping. And I like to turn on the monkey so I can see on a shape rather than just a sphere. 16, let's see. That might work. Let's make it even 20. Okay, so now we got a nice wood texture. I know there's a wood choice here in the texture type, but that makes diagonal lines, and I don't want diagonal, I want vertical. Okay, so now for render, let's move our camera up a little bit. Actually, this kind of, we got our lights set up, but we didn't arrange them. Okay. Top view. Let's move our light a little more in the front. And let's, you know what, let's grab the whole light, the light and the thing it's pointing at there. Shift D, so we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to put a little fill light over here. Let's change its energy to about 0.5, and let's change this guy's energy to 1.5. And let's go back to camera view, hit 0 on your keypad, on your numpad, and let's go ahead and hit F12 to render. That's a nice little bark texture, isn't it? For procedural texturing, that's not too shabby. Okay, so one thing we need to keep doing with this bark is go back to your texture buttons, and we're going to click on this next empty slot. And instead of clicking Add New, we're just going to hit those up and down arrows, and we're going to hit Texture 02. It's the exact same texture that we used before, so we don't want to mess it up. So hit where it says 2. Click on that, and it says single user? Yes. Now it made it text 03, texture 03. Just change the colors to black and white because this is going to be a bump map. And pop back to the material buttons, and let's copy all the settings of here. See what it says. It says UV 20. Okay. So UV 20. Okay. And turn off color now, and now click on normal. And let's raise that way up. Not way up, but let's say 10's probably fine. And let's add one more texture to it, just another clouds. And let's turn on the colors, black and white, and increase the contrast. There we go. Okay, and this one is going to, we're going to set object instead of UV. This one's going to be object. Map to, not color, normals, and increase that way up too, so you can kind of start seeing a grainy look. There. This little circle right here kind of gives you what it would look like when it rendered, rather than just kind of preview. It kind of gives you a more sharp or more focused preview of what it would look like. So let's increase those normals some more. Nice rough bark texture. Okay, so now if we render F12, we get a nice rough looking tree trunk here, and that's good. Okay, so let's work on the ground a little bit. Didn't mean to run into this amount of time on this tutorial, but hey, you'll be able to make something pretty cool after you're done. Let's give the ground another texture right there. Add a new. This was going to be clouds. Clouds are good for just about anything as far as making things organic, I think, except for people. So anyways, go to colors, color band, turn this all the way up. We're going to make this one kind of shades of green. So it's going to be the ground, like grassy ground. So let's go kind of a light green and kind of a dark green. Okay, so there we go. Change the noise depth up, make it all the way 6. And let's turn the specular level way down. Don't need that. And this could look nice and all. Let's go ahead and jump into camera view and zoom out. The way I'm zooming out right now is you just click on the edges of the camera, hold down G, and just click your middle mouse button and pull it back, and that zooms out like so. And then you can click and it'll stay there. Now you can just hit G and just move your mouse around and it'll rearrange your camera. So now let's hit G or F12 and it renders out. So that looks okay, but it's not real believable yet. So let's add another step to our ground texture here. Let's do the same thing, add new clouds. This time on the color band, we're going to leave that alpha at 0. We're going to click the green and make it brown. So we're going to have some spots of brown showing through. And let's turn on alpha right there. So you can kind of see where the transparency is going to be for the dirt versus the grass. So let's move this over. You can kind of see how it's going to work here. Let's swap sides there. I don't know if that makes a difference. But you can just play with these settings and you can kind of see how the different textures are going to interact here. And you can add one extra bit of detail here. Hit down, hold down Control and click in here. It's going to add another place for color. And let's just make that a little darker. So now you can, kind of cool. It's got little dark spots in it, maybe like little wet spots or something. Increase this noise depth also. And let's make this a little bigger. Okay, so now when you go back to the material buttons, you can see it's, since you left that alpha on there, it's nicely going over the green. So you got the brown and the green kind of just interacting with each other, kind of like grassy spots on dirt. Let's go ahead and render that out, see what that looks like. So that looks kind of cool, huh? Okay, one more thing, a very important thing, grass. Everyone likes grass on their scenes, so let's do this. Let's add another, let's go to your editing thing here and add another to material. Just click on that, or actually I guess you click new and go back to material and kill that one. We don't need that one. Let's add a new one, and this one's going to be, let's make it green like so. Actually, we can just leave it white because let's put a texture on here. And we're not going to use clouds this time. This time we're going to use blend. Same concept as the clouds as far as the colors go. We don't want transparent to green. We want a darkish green to a brighter green. It's going to be our, this here is like the base of the grass, and this is going to be the tip. So it'd be a nice gradation from dark to light on the grass piece. And the way to kind of see what it might look like, just click on the hair strands render right there. And it's dark, it's doing sideways. We don't want sideways. So map input, and it's going to be, well, where is it? Stick, that's not right. Huh, there should be strands. Maybe I just got to turn. Reason it's not showing strands because I haven't put any strands on it yet. So let's go to the object right here and click over to particle buttons, add new, and click there and make it hair. And if you increase the normals, you can see where the hair is going to come out. But it's not going to be hair, it's going to be grass. So to make this look a little more realistic than just straight up like that, let's click random, even, and that looks a lot better. And another way to make it look better is over here on R length, that's random length. I always like to max that out. You know what, let's go ahead and add some children to it too. Children faces. And it's going to render 100 for every one, for every parent, and there's already 1,000. We don't need 100,000. So let's knock that down to, say, 20. And another thing we need to do is turn on strand render. Excuse me. I'm going to drink of water real quick. That's better. Okay, so now kind of play with the clump and shape there to kind of get the grass to behave a little differently. And you can mess with the acceleration of X to kind of make it bend in the X direction a little bit, and Y. There we go. Don't want to go too high with it because it go real crazy. You don't want to mess with Z because Z just spreads it out as far as the Z axis goes. Okay, back to the shading. And now I can see that strand is available. So let's click that. You can see it puts the dark green at the bottom to the light green at the top. It's just a straight line. We don't want a straight line, so click on strands, and you want end to be way down to 0.25. That's as small as it'll go. And we want the start to be, let's say, 2.5. And there we go, a nice thin triangle shape. Okay, so one thing we need to do with our grass settings, go back to the object button, and right here where it says render, you want to click over to material 2, because that's that grass texture that we set up. If you remember, when I clicked a new material right here in the editing section, it automatically added a second material. So we need to, where was I? There we go. Material 2, and you want to make sure emitter is selected. Okay, so now when we render F12, we're going to see some nice little blades of grass. How cool is that? Looks pretty neat, huh? Okay, one thing that I will do, and then we will call this a done tutorial, is let's change the sky background, because it's solid dark blue. That doesn't look very realistic. So let's go back to the shading, click on the little earth looking type of thing right there, and let's click on blend, and that makes this color fade into this color. So let's make this one a really pale blue. Let's bring it over to a little bit more aquamarine color. So right there to a more of a royal blue, like so. So now when we render F12, I'm going to put that nice background on there. So there you go. You can use this knowledge to make pretty much however detailed a scene you want. So thanks for watching this long tutorial. I didn't expect it to go this long, but hopefully you learned something. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.